Hello. Welcome to the final edition of the Inequality Chronicles for 2014. I think I said inequality. It's inequality, obviously. Alright. Tonight's stories. This is a special edition with no articles included. 2014 in review. Hopes for 2015. How to lose 156 pounds. And resolutions for the oppressed. Let me just start off with 2014 in review. Alright. I have mapped out some basic bullet points that I want to go through with each of these stories. And for 2014 in review, let me just cap on a few things. First, we had the most expensive midterms in our history. This is almost going to go without saying. Every single election year, they're just going to keep getting more and more expensive as we continue to see the after effects of Citizens United, as well as now McCutcheon, these two Supreme Court rulings, which decimated our regulations on campaign financing, thereby disrupting significantly, the near balance that we had with respect to the voice of the people and how it is reflected in our campaigns, as well as the conduct of the elected. This year was especially significant because, as mentioned, I believe, in the previous episode of this show, we had PACs, for the first time ever, outspending campaign committees, and that or outraising them. It was something to that effect. Either way, we are seeing this shift of power more and more from the people to these special interests, and in the long run, that's not going to be a good thing. The second bullet point for the year in review was we saw the greatest disparity in income in our history. Again, this is a trend that we are going to continue to see as the issue of inequality continues to be ignored. And in the bigger picture, it is continuing to be ignored. From time to time, the media will, talk about it for a moment. Depends on what media outlet you're watching, but they'll touch base with it for a moment, then they'll move on to the next non-issue, some distractive matter that is going on at that period of time. Even with the economy growing right now, and it's been growing since 2009, I'll give it that, but the benefits of that growth are not being spread out to everyone. They're not being felt by everyone. It's because we have this gap, this massive gap between the poor and the wealthiest, and that is just continuing to expand. And while we may have this temporary feeling of relief right now because of gas prices going down and minimum wages going up, the fact is, without a living wage, without real economic power for the most of us, the consequences of this imbalance will come back to haunt us in the future, with future recessions that will be far deeper than what we've experienced to date. Number 3, for the year in review, we are seeing this ongoing trend of a war on the homeless. I've covered it from time to time on this show since the summer, and the issue of the homeless, it gets overshadowed. I recently read a story and shared it on Facebook where you have some cities, and this isn't just something that is here in the United States that is going on. Other countries in the world, other advanced countries in the world are showing this repulsive abhorrence towards the homeless, like punishing them for being humans who are in need of a place to rest, who just fell on hard times that just kept accumulating to the point to where they just have nowhere to go. mean, you have some places that have been putting up spikes in areas that, the homeless would lay down, or putting cages around benches. I mean, this is a special level of heartlessness, of evil that we are seeing. Treating the least of these. Although I am not religious anymore, anyone who claims to be, for instance, a Christian, can't really call yourself a true Christian if you are willing to just spit on the least of these. And who's in more of a position to be called the least of these than the homeless? Honestly. We need, as a society, especially in the advanced world, to do more for them. Giving them a plane ticket to get the hell out of your city is not doing more for them. Busing them out of your town to make them someone else's problem is not doing more for them. Feeding them just on Christmas is not doing more for them. More needs to be done for them to help them get on their feet. Something substantial. Something that prevents, I guess you can call it, homeless recidivism. Because homelessness is kind of a prison in of itself. And the fourth bullet point, something that has dominated the news, especially since the summer, is the inequality of justice. It's a touchy issue because, some people see it just as a race issue. And in a lot of ways it is. But there is something very wrong with our justice system, and it touches back to the issue of inequality overall. There are, this is far more complex than just income inequality, though, because especially with respect to the relationship between the black community and the white community, this goes back literally centuries. And there are some deep wounds that have yet to heal. And we've been patting ourselves on the back for decades now, claiming, we had affirmative action, that was enough. We had a civil war to end slavery, that was enough. They should get on their feet by now. Just like with the issue of homelessness, we need to do more as a society to come together, white community, black community, rich, poor. We need to work as one to figure out the best course forward. On this show, off and on, I have discussed what I think are good approaches, but at the end of the day, humanity overall, we need to come together as one and figure this out instead of just talking past each other, pointing the finger. It's time to stop pointing the finger and start working as a community. Story number 2. Hopes for 2015. Again, 4 bullet points. Number 1, demilitarization of police. We've been talking about this since August. Some, like for instance Bill Maher, I've been talking about a little bit more than that. It is crazy to see basically the military possession, not military, but the police possessing tanks and, military style weapons. It is definitely bad symbolically, but it comes back to that inequality of justice issue. It's hard to establish a sense of community, a sense of trust, if you have to create this image of facing off against an enemy, as if the people are the enemy, demonstrating mass as the enemy, and they're not. We have to get rid of this notion that we have to be so overwhelmingly armed to face any challenge. And if we really want to effectively police our communities, we need to have genuine trust built between the communities and the policing authorities. Regular meetings between police and community leaders, and need to establish a partnership of sorts. But this whole going in gung-ho, like you're invading some kind of foreign territory, that is only going to make these wounds deeper. And only going to drive that wedge between the communities even more. Number 2, more states join the movement to legalize. This is kind of stemmed from the issue of the inequality of justice, because marijuana has been used as an excuse of sorts to imprison certain undesirables and keep them locked in a never-ending cycle of prison. By all means, consuming marijuana, and I'm not someone who consumes it, marijuana consumption is a taboo behavior. Are we going to just forever punish all taboo behaviors? Get you stuck in a perpetual state of prison life based on whether or not you had some marijuana on you? It's stupid. And I'm going to make the same point when I go before city officials. Another taboo behavior is picking your nose in public. Yeah, it's disgusting to watch, but are we going to imprison people for that? Honestly? Yeah. Marijuana harms no one, pretty much, except for the person consuming it. If you want to make the argument that, the money that you give the drug dealer then goes on to fund terrorist organizations, there's a simple solution for that. Legalize it and you regulate it. Make it to where the only people growing it and selling it are doing it within the United States. It's as simple as that. Take it out of the hands of the black market. And then you can literally come back to the point where the only person who's getting harmed by it, if there is any harm from it, is the person consuming it. And if we're going to punish people for doing something that harms themselves, then there is a whole host of other things that we can punish people for. Tobacco shouldn't be legal then. Alcohol shouldn't be legal then. Caffeine shouldn't be legal. Salt shouldn't be legal. I mean, really, do you want me to go on? So I'm glad to see that the states of Oregon and Alaska have joined Washington and Colorado in this movement to legalize, and I hope many more states join in the future, because this is a path to common sense and hopefully ends a lot of the issues with respect to our justice system. Number 3, and this show probably isn't going to be strictly by the 30-minute rule, by the way, but number 3 for hopes for 2015, democracy awakens. Labor showing signs of life, and we have the amendment movement. Now, number 1, I say labor showing signs of life because we've seen throughout this year, 2014, the rise of organized labor. Now, I'm not talking about the traditional unions that we've become accustomed to, but I'm talking about the spirit of laborers coming together, showing that there is power in uniting, demanding a living wage, demanding better treatment. And you know what? Whether you want to admit it or not, it's been working. It's been getting the attention of the people who are running these companies, like McDonald's, for instance, Burger King, them. It's been a long, hard road, but they are having an impact, and I hope that they continue, and I have faith that they will. And this is a part of democracy awakening, because at the end of the day, organized labor is a part of democracy. It's putting power in the hands of the people, the masses. Social democracy is another name that we have for organized labor, and we are seeing that push the agenda with respect to living wages, is keeping that in the forefront of our debate. And we are, I think at the beginning of this great awakening. I saw 2011 as sort of democracy pushing back, but this, I think, 2015 could have the potential for the people retaking their power. And that's where I come to the second part of this, the amendment movement. What I mean by that is the movement to Amend the Constitution to clarify that money is not speech and that corporations are not people. To clarify that the power belongs solely into the hands of the people, not of artificial entities, such as corporations, or if you want to extend it, unions, as if unions have had the same access to power that corporations have had. I believe 2015 could be a spectacular year for democracy. It has that potential. We've seen 2014 be the year where autocracy has tried to push back a little bit, but if the people know what is before them, the possibilities that are before them, 2015 could be an amazing year. And finally, number 4 for the hopes of 2014, inequality at the forefront for the presidential race. You see, in the midst of all of this, the people continuing this forward movement, I believe that we, the people, have the chance to really control the debate for the presidential race in 2016. We can set the stage for this, and I'm not just talking about on the Democratic side, I'm talking about the Republican side too. You can see the rise of genuine populist candidates on both sides and actually give us a real option, a real choice here that the establishment won't care too much about. And I hope that we get anti-establishment candidates on both sides, people who appeal to the best angels of our nature, who want to serve the people at the end of the day. So keep inequality in center stage. Don't let the media forget about it. And I believe that is something we can look forward to in 2015, so I'm hoping for that. Story number 3. How to lose 156 pounds. This is a little personal accomplishment of mine. I lost, as of when I weighed myself earlier this month, I've lost 156 pounds over the course of 29 months. And I want to see others who are dealing with weight loss issues, or who are struggling with losing a lot of weight. I want to see others try to do that. Others who can, because I know not everybody is made the same. Not everybody is capable of going the same route that I have, but to anyone who can, or anyone who wants to try, I want to reach out to you. So here's my advice. 4 bullet points, just as the other stories. Number 1, and this is probably the most important in a lot of ways, don't spend money on dietitians or scam weight loss programs. As a matter of fact, I'm not even charging you any money for this at all, because I don't want you to spend any money that you don't need to spend. I didn't spend any money on any kind of weight loss program whatsoever. I just sort of stole the idea from from doing a little bit of research and reading between the lines on certain weight loss commercials. I figured out their formula in a way. And you can do it too by not spending a dime. And I'll get to how I did it momentarily. Number 2, have patience with yourself. Just do it. Have patience with yourself. Because it takes time. If you want to do this right and in a healthy way, not starving yourself. Number 3, set realistic short-term goals. I'll elaborate on that here in a moment with number 4, which is consider my approach. And this is how I did it. When I first started trying to lose weight, and I'm going to try and provide much of a backstory in a short period of time as possible, I was roughly 336 pounds. I weighed myself in July 2012. And I probably had weighed more than that before that period of time, because my mom had passed away in May of 2012, and before she had passed away, her having been a nurse's aide, she had noticed that I had been gaining a lot of weight. And I'm not going to go into all the details as to why. I think I've actually touched base on it in previous episodes. But my fingers were bloated. I was sort of like the human incarnation of the Michelin Man. I just was. I wasn't taking care of myself. My mom told my oldest sister that she was afraid that I was going to stroke out. And honestly, I was too. I regularly had chest pains that would strike out of nowhere. It would be often after I'd eat something, and it would just, I'd feel the pain go from my heart, and it would just shoot up my arm, and my arm would just be in agonizing pain for a long period of time. And sometimes I felt like I was going to die. Maybe I was on the verge of death. I don't know. So I just thought to myself, I was thinking to myself that something had to change all along. I was in so much pain. But then my sister told me that it shocked me. I knew then that something had to change. I had to do something for my mom, for me, for my kids. I had to change my life, and what I did was, first, I changed my eating habits. And what I mean by that, I didn't really take out any unhealthy foods per se. I limited my portions. I made sure that food wasn't stacked severely high. You know, I would eat just a normal portion, like, I don't know, I would eat enough for just one serving. I wouldn't eat any seconds. And that was pretty much it. I'd only eat until I was full. I'd give myself 20 minutes. Well, you're supposed to give yourself 20 minutes anyway, because it takes a moment for your brain to eat, for your brain to realize that you're full. But I also had learned that your brain doesn't know the difference between, you know, water, like consumption of liquids and consumptions of solids. So when basically your stomach's only going to tell your brain that it's full when it's reached a certain capacity. So once you've finished eating food, if you don't feel like you're full after you've finished eating all your food on your plate, consume water. Drink water until you get full, preferably like a whole cup. And I also limited myself to only 3 meals a day. No seconds, only 3 meals a day. Small bowls for cereal, no longer big bowls. I used to do multiple things of cereal, only one serving of cereal in a small bowl. For lunch, I would often eat leftovers from, you know, whatever was left over from the dinner from the night before. And I still do that. And snack food, I limited myself to that. Initially, I limited myself to snack food to only once every week. And then that stopped having an effect, so I limited it to once per month. And now it's even less often than that, only on special occasions. So just having the food part of it can help me lose a considerable amount of weight, anywhere between 50-70 pounds in that area. But then I plateaued. So what I started to do after I plateaued with the food part of it, I started to integrate an exercise routine. And the exercise routine started out with me doing, 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups. I would do that every day for a whole month. And after the first month, I increased the push-ups and sit-ups to 20. And then the next month to 30. Then I started to, after I got up to 50, I started to reduce how much I was increasing it by 5. So, but basically I reduced it to 5 instead of 10. So I would go from 50 to 55 to 60 and so on. But at the same time, I was also bringing in other exercises as well. I would introduce, after I reached 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups, I introduced a new type of exercise every month. So I would do like When the 5th month came around, I introduced, what was it? Crunches, I believe it was. I can't remember all the different exercises, but I have like 8 different exercises that I do now. In addition to walking up and down my steps 10 times now, but that's what I've reached at this point. But I would introduce a new exercise, and then I would gradually get myself up to being at that level of wherever I was with the push-ups and sit-ups, and I would just equalize it. And that helped me accelerate my weight loss significantly, doing that. And I think it's called muscle confusion or something, but that's what I would do. I would change my routine every month, ever so slightly. And now I have these 8 exercises, which I do pretty much religiously, including leg lifts, sit-ups, crunches. I have one where I touch my toes, one where I have my hand up like this and I go like midway like that. I do that. And I do now 2 sets of exercises of all 8 of those. Right now I'm at the point where I'm doing 35 of all of those, sit-ups, push-ups, all the way through the other 6 of those. I do 35 of those in the morning right now. In January it'll be up to 40. And I do 100 at night of all of those. Now, once I reached 100, I started to do the morning exercises, starting out with 10 and then moving up to where I am now. So, and I'm going to continue all this until I reach 100. And then I'm going to try and spread out my routine a little bit more, alter it just a little bit. Obviously, you can't just keep going on adding exercises. I mean, maybe some people can, but we all only have so much time in the day. So I'll find new exercises to integrate. It's just the point is keeping your body working harder. And that's how I've done it. That's how I've been able to lose 156 pounds in 29 months, and who knows what I've lost in this month, December. But that's just it. You don't have to spend any money to lose weight. I guess this is another way of me trying to democratize something, is I want to give you an opportunity to improve your life without having to waste money to do it. No one should have to get rich off of something I consider a basic right, and that basic right being your right to be healthy, which is connected, I'm assuming, to your right to live. So, don't spend any more money on magic pills or surgeries or dietitians or ridiculous exercise programs or diets. If you can, apply what I've done to your life, and hopefully it helps you significantly. And you won't owe me anything for it, because I don't want your money. I just want you to improve your life. Moving on. Resolutions for the oppressed. Honestly, I love New Year's resolutions. It is why New Year's is, as funny as it is, my favorite, absolute favorite holiday, because it gives you a chance for change every year. So, I have 4 resolutions for the oppressed, as I termed it, because I have my own personal resolutions, but I'm not going to share that here. Number 1 resolution for the oppressed. Don't let the media and politicians forget about inequality. Just don't. Just keep it in the debate. Number 2, get and stay involved in political process. I wrote that weird, so it came out weird. Sorry. And people need to get engaged and need to try and change. And if you want the system to work for you, you have to show that you're a part of the system. And that's the only way you have to change it from within. You can't just complain on the outside. You got to get involved. Yeah, and number 3, this is a part of that, organize and educate. Organize with others. A lot of people out there who are disgruntled. They have to put that anger to action, but in a good way. But educate, not just talking about this education that indoctrinates us into being blind consumers following the system. No. I've recently read a book that made a lot of sense to me about education, and there was a philosophy in there about education from a not from a banking knowledge into our psyches, from the establishment, from the status quo, but rather education that poses a problem, called problem-posing education, where we consider an issue and contemplate different approaches to resolving it. Where we contemplate an issue from different standpoints, from different angles, where we question what we've been taught. There is some value to our education system right now, but we shouldn't take everything, as if it's the gospel truth. I'm not saying that could be dangerously misinterpreted. That's the good time to tell me to shut up, but I'm not going to obey it today because it's a special edition of this show. But what I'm saying is, we need to liberate our education and democratize it, put it into the hands of the people. Have a relationship between students and teachers, and this needs to, in some way, influence our movement for addressing inequality, for addressing the issues of today. This can't be something we wait a generation for. This needs to happen now. The people need to get out there, read, learn about the world, learn about how different systems work, and just challenge the status quo where it needs to be challenged. Defend the things that are worth defending. Strengthen areas that have been weakened by the elites. Just take back the reins of power. And number 4, frame the debate for 2015 and beyond. This extends back to me talking about the presidential race. There are a number of elections that are going on this year in 2015 that really need not be overlooked. Important local elections that you need to care about. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these local elections have more of an impact on your life directly or immediately than what the presidential election does. But influencing the 2015 elections and our society in 2015 can embolden us for 2016. It can send a message to anyone aspiring to be president that the people mean business and want to change for the better. So, by pushing forward and awakening our democratic spirit, we can truly transform our society and make it work for us again. I have a lot of hope for us in the future, and call it blind optimism. But I truly believe that we have the potential to correct our course, to address inequality, and to, as the cliche goes, not just take our country back, but take our economy back, and take our destiny back. Alright, that does it for me. Happy New Year. See you in 2015.